Hi, and welcome to Old School Blues Guitar. I've got another fantastic electric blues guitar instrumental lesson for you. This is an obscure instrumental. It's called Slowly After Hours by a guitar player named Clarence Green. And I did one of his other instrumentals called Crazy Strings not too long ago. This one is very rare and it's hard to find. I don't even think it's available on MP3 for download anywhere. And I've looked. I found it on an album, an old LP, a record called Houston Shuffle, and there were 3 of Clarence Green's instrumentals on there. And I was lucky enough to have transferred from the old cassette tape that I had it on to an MP3 right before I got rid of all my old cassette tapes. So I still have the song. And since it's not available, if you've never heard this song before, don't know what I'm talking about, I'm going to use the original on my computer here and play it for you so you can hear the song. To avoid copyright problems, I'm going to play just parts of it as I go through and teach each part. This is a fantastic instrumental, and Clarence Green is a very much underrated guitar player. He played some really cool stuff. And in this instrumental, which is in the key of B, he plays stuff all over the neck, and it's a good example of how you can play outside just the first position blues box. There's lots of other places you can play and give your playing some more depth and range and variety. Let's get started. And before we even get into this, let me just play the opening part of Slowly After Hours by Clarence Green. Give it a listen and then I'll go through and teach it step by step. There's the opening verses to the song, and this part is relatively simple. He plays this, and then he goes into 2 solos, a couple solos, which are exceptionally cool. So let's get started. It's in the key of B, and so we're going to use some lines played over the first position B blues box, over the first position B bar chord. And he starts out on the 6th string leading into the tune, like this. And all I'm doing is going from the B flat, which is the 6th fret of the 6th string, to the B, the 7th fret. And then I'm sliding it down. And then he's going to play, or the song is going to go to a B chord. Now there's horns on the tune too, so it's difficult listening to it to hear exactly what the guitar is playing sometimes. But if you don't have a horn section and you want to play this, you can just kind of imitate the horn parts with the guitar. So the first part, and then he's going to go to the E, which is the 4 chord. He's going to do the same thing he did at the beginning, but this time on the 5th string, from the 6th to the 7th fret. And then an E9 chord is what I hear. So that is an E 2nd position 9th chord. I've got a diagram for you on the tab if you don't know this chord. So far what we've got. And then he goes into this really cool melodic line. This is what I really love about the song, this part here. So he's going to hammer on, he's in the first position B blues box here, from the 7th fret to the 8th fret on the 3rd string, to the 9th fret of the 4th string, to the 9th fret of the 5th string. Then he's going to go 9, 8, 7 on the 5th string. Now you could do a double stop on that first lick, like this. Either way, I do it both ways sometimes. So I've got my first finger on the 2nd and 3rd strings at the 7th fret. And then I'm going to hammer on to the 8th fret of the 3rd string, but I'm going to get the 2nd string as well. So you can do it either way. So let's take it from there. Then he's going to get this note, which is the 6th fret of the 3rd string, to the 8th and 9th fret to the 4th string. So the whole thing. Then he's just going to use the 2nd position 9th chords. That's an A flat 9th. That would be a G 9th. And that would be an F sharp 9th. And then he repeats it. And let me show you, let's do the first part. There's a little variation in the second time around. So the first time around. There's the variation. And it took me a while listening to this to figure out what he's doing. He's sliding from the 7th fret of the 6th string to the 2nd fret of the 6th string and then open. And it makes sense because the song is going from B, from the 1 to the 4, which is an E. So you can play that open E, which sounds really cool. So he does this. Right there is where he gets ready for the first solo. So there is the opening part of Clarence Green's Slowly After Hours, which is in the key of B. The chord progression, we'll go through that completely here in a little bit. So if you've got 2 guitar players, one guitar player can play the rhythm part, the chords, the other one can play the melody. It's a really neat tune with a lot of possibilities to it. If you have any questions, let me know. And I'll be back in a minute with the first solo of Clarence Green's Slowly After Hours. This guitar, we are working our way through an obscure instrumental by Clarence Green. And it's called Slowly After Hours. In the first lesson, we went through the introductory verse, the main couple verses at the beginning of the song. Now we're going to get into the first solo. And as I mentioned in the first lesson, this is a rare tune. It's hard to find. And I was just lucky enough to copy it from a record to a cassette tape back in the 80s, and then I transferred it later to an MP3. So let me play the whole first part of the song so far and then into the solo. So let's take it from the beginning. Here comes the first solo. How cool is that? That is just, to me, one of the greatest lines or solos in the history of electric blues. I just love that. So melodic, and it does so much stuff going on here. So let's dive into it. He starts out, the first lick, he's playing in B. And so not only can he play over the first position blues box, but he can also play over this A shape B. So, right there rather, sorry. So this is a B. Here's the first position blues box. And then he's got this. Where he can play as well. And so he starts out like this. He's going to walk from the 4th to the 6th string. Sorry, 4th to the 6th fret on the 4th string, to the 4th fret of the 3rd string, and then bend the 6th fret of the 3rd string and hold it. he's going to go back and forth between the 4th fret of the 3rd string, 6th fret, and then a little bend on, just a tiny bend it sounds like, on the 6th fret of the 4th string, 3rd string. So he's going back and forth between the 4th and 6th fret of the 3rd string. And then he's going to slide from the 7th to the 9th fret on the 2nd string. Like that. So this is the first phrase of the solo. Let me get the tab. I've got it under one of my lights over here. So we got the first part, the intro. And here comes the first solo. So it's like this. And then. So let's do that one more time. Like there. So there's the first phrase right there. And when he does the slide, he's going to use the vibrato on the 9th fret. It's going from the 7th to the 9th fret of the 2nd string. And if you listen to this tune, this is one of the things that makes it so just melodic and beautiful, is the fact that he does a lot of holding the notes and using the vibrato. Really lets them ring out, which is great. Okay, so that's the first and second phrases, actually, the way I have it tabbed out. Solo. It sounds to me, this part I'm not positive on, but it sounds like he's doing a hammer-on between the 5th and the 7th frets. Like that. Or between the 7th and the 9th frets. I can't hear which one it is, but he's winding up with this. And that's the next phrase. So what's he doing? Is he doing this? With a quick hammer on between the 5th and the 7th fret to the 9th fret of the 2nd string. Like that. That's one thing that I hear. Or is he just doing that hammer on between the 7th and the 9th and then going back to the 9th fret of the 2nd string? Either one of those would work. Check the tab and then also listen to the song and see what you think. And then he does this. He's going to slide from the 4th to the 6th fret on the 4th string. There's a lot of sliding, hammer-on, pull-offs, a lot of little nuances and intricacies that he does in his playing. This is one of the things that makes it really cool. He's not just playing the notes, he's doing stuff with them. So he slides from the 4th to the 6th fret on the 4th string to the 4th fret of the 3rd string, and then again bending on the 3rd string. At the 6th fret, lets it down, back to the 4th fret, to the 6th fret of the 4th string. So that whole, let's do the whole first part of the solo there. Of the solo, first solo. It's going to slide to the 12th fret of the 2nd string and hold that note. And then he's going to do this little hammer-on pull-off thing, which I'm not sure exactly what he's doing, but it sounds something like this. And I don't know if he's going. So hammering on the 9th to the 10th frets and back to the 9th. So a hammer-on pull-off. And then back and forth between the 7th and the 9th fret of the 2nd string. So like this. And then again bending on the 3rd string at the 6th fret and holding the 4th fret of the 3rd string. So that whole phrase could be that, or he could be doing, instead of doing this, he could just be doing this, hammering on between the 7th and the 9th fret. But I think he's doing this. listen to it, see what you think of the solo. He does something like this. So we ended up here. And then he's going to do it. So he's going to slide again, 7th to 9th, to the 7th fret of the 2nd string, and then hammer on from the 7th to the 8th fret of the 3rd string, and then hold that note, 7th fret of the 2nd string. So let's take it from here. Then he's going to do this. At least I think he's doing it. Where he's doing another one of these slides, either from the 5th to the 7th or the 6th to the 7th, into that note, into the B note, 7th fret of the 1st string. And then he's going to slide again from the 7th to the 9th of the 2nd string. That's what I'm hearing. So he's not just playing this, he's playing 7th fret of the 2nd string, and then this little figure again. And then right before the chord changes, he plays kind of an arpeggio, something over a B shape, and I can't tell if it's just the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd strings of a B. That, and he chokes it off. Or does he do almost a B minor and get the 9th fret of the 4th string? Again, it's tough to hear exactly what he's doing. So let's play that whole part again. So he's starting here. Something like that. It's 3 notes. That or that. And then the song does this chord shift, which is really cool. Now let's take a moment here and talk about the chords in this part of the song. The first part, the opening part, is really just the B, and then an E, E7, E9, and then back to the B. And it's a 1-4-5 combination. And then, but this part of the song where he does the shift, he's going from a B, these are all just major chords, B, B flat, A flat. So it goes. And then it's going to go to the 2, which is going to be a C sharp. And back to the 5, which is your F sharp 7th. This. And that's, listen to the song, but those are the chords. So that shift. Part of the song. I don't know if I just did that right. We'll listen to it here in just a second. So in the solo, we played this. And that leads us to the last part of the first solo. Last part, set of phrases for the first solo of Clarence Green's Slowly After Hours. We have the chord shift. And then he's going to go. So he's sliding from the 10th to the 12th fret on the 2nd string to the 10th fret of the 1st string, 12th fret of the 1st string. Then he's going to do some bends. Bending up. I use 3 fingers with the ring finger bending on the 12th fret of the 1st string. And it sounds to me like he ends up on the 11th fret of the 3rd string. Then he's going to go back to the first position, blues box. And so he's walking from the 9th fret of the 4th string to the 7th fret of the 3rd string into a bend on the 9th fret of the 3rd string. I think he plays that. 1, 2, 3. And then the 9th fret or 7th fret of the 1st string. So that whole thing. Whoops. And he does this little thing. We're bending and pulling off. He's picking the string and then just using his fingers. He's not using his right hand. Something like that. Listen to it carefully. But he's just going between the 7th and 9th frets on the 3rd string to the 9th fret of the 4th string. It sounds like he does a quick hammer on it or something like that. Check the tap. So that whole last phrase. And then he goes into this. So he's coming from the 9th fret of the 4th string to the 7th and 9th of the 3rd string, and then he's going to slide between the 9th and 10th fret of the 3rd string. Let me get the context right. Something like that. And then he goes over to the 9th fret of the 5th string and does something here. This part I haven't got completely right, but he's playing something like between the 9th fret of the 5th string and the 7th and 9th on the 4th string. Like that. And then he leads into the next, he's going to go back to the opening phrase again, or opening verse. Now one way you could play this, if you can't hear what's going on, I've had trouble hearing this. What I do instead is a little thing on the 6th and 5th strings. I start, whoops, start on the 7th fret of the 6th string to the 5th fret of the 5th string, 7th fret of the 5th string, and then between the 7th and 8th fret of the 5th string, and then lead into the next verse. Like that. So there is the first solo of Clarence Green's Slowly After Hours, broken down the best I can. Let's play that last part one more time. Alright, I'll be back with the next part and the second solo, and then we'll wrap up the tune in the next part of the lesson.